Hi, my name is Cassidy Elledge, and I went to the Salam Islamic Center in Sacramento on Friday, September 16th. It was really cool to walk in there. I went with Tyler Alexander, and I also went with Sophia Rizak. And it was super cool because right when we walked in, the leaders there were super warm, they were super welcoming. They could tell that we were not Muslims, that we were maybe guests coming in. And there was a guy who walked up to us and he was like, "Hi, how are you guys?" And he took us to kind of their office, and he gave me and both of us girls a hijab, I don't know, I think that's how you say it, but and he gave us both one of those because they were required, which he later explained, like because of like modesty and to show respect to Allah. That's why the women wear those. And so it was really nice. I was very grateful that he gave us those, so then we didn't have to feel out of place or anything. At all the entrances, you can see that there are like shoe racks, places to put your shoes, so we take our shoes off. We go in there, and then what I thought was really awesome is that the women are behind all of the men. Not in like a bad kind of way, but a modest kind of way, because when the prayers happen and everybody gets onto their knees and bends to the floor, they set it up that way so that the women are in the back, so then the guys aren't behind them, like looking at them. And so I really respected that, just like the thought of that, and just the modesty within their culture. And when we got upstairs, there was this other lady. She was actually an American Muslim. She was Caucasian, and she met us and was just super friendly and nice, and kind of was like, "Yeah, well, this is what's happening now. Now we're going into prayer. Like, everybody's gonna stand up and like bow to the ground, but you guys can sit there. Like, feel free to sit there." And she was just super like engaging and helping us not to like feel alone and understand kind of what was happening. So I wanted to go into a little bit of the architecture and what I saw. So we went to a mosque, so it was in a dome, and there was a lot of like paintings, and the design was very like Arabic looking, which it was like green, kind of like tan colors, and there was like the dome, with the ceiling that opens up into the dome, and then there's like a circle line all the way through of just like verses in the Quran, 7 passages from the Quran that go around it. That's all in like that green painting, the green color. And then up in the front there are 3 central arches, and then the middle arch is where the imam, where he like leads the prayer, and he has his mat there for when he leads the kind of congregation in the prayer time. And then when he would do his sermon, which when we first got there, he did like a little short 15 to 20 minute sermon, which I'll go into later because it was really good. But he would go over to the right arch and speak in that one with the microphone. I took notes during the sermon. Yeah, you could say they even called it a sermon. The imam goes up there and he shares a sermon and talks about how we are not to be how Muslims are not to be arrogant and boastful or look down on others, and how we as Muslims are supposed to think of ourselves as lowly, and to stay humble, and even if we have lots of blessings, to not take them for granted, because they can be taken at any given moment. And so we should not become arrogant because of these blessings, that we may have more blessings than others or whatever, because they could be taken at any given moment. And he went into this concept of whoever elevates Allah, Allah will elevate them, which is very interesting, because I had mentioned it in a little bit in my discussion post. I can't think of the verse off the top of my head, but there's a Bible verse that this was kind of taken from in scripture, where it's the same concept but talking about God instead. And then I thought the whole sermon was really interesting. It was very like like, it was encouraging, it was applicable, and like, it was a good message. Like, you could have shared that message really anywhere. Doesn't necessarily matter what religion you were, which just points how every single person has like a sense of morality and good and bad and right and wrong that God has given us, because the law is written on each one of our hearts. Then the service finished up, and all three of us went back to the office, and they were just super courteous. They let us sit down, super hospitable, and let us sit down on their couch in there. And like the outreach leader came over, kind of like the outreach pastor, and his job was just connecting with us and asking questions, and they're very used to having people come out and visit, especially college students. So it was nice that they're very open to that, and we got to ask him lots of questions. And I asked him, like, what does it mean for you to be a Muslim? What does that mean for you? And he was just explaining how he was super grateful to be born into it, that his family was all Muslims, and that they raised him in Islam, and how he's super grateful for that, and how, like, out of his gratefulness towards Allah and stuff, he wanted to learn Arabic. And so he's learned Arabic, and he has like the privilege to actually know the language, because a lot of Muslims don't. And yeah, and he was just super helpful, and it was like answering a bunch of questions. Another question that I had for him at the end was like there's a lot of interpretations of jihad, like as a Muslim, how do you view jihad according to the Quran? And he goes on to explain how it means a struggle. It does not mean a holy war, but it's an internal struggle to be like the best Muslim that you can be. To be able to glorify Allah in the best way you can be, and how a lot of Muslims and a lot of people have taken it out of context to say that it means war and terrorism and stuff, and how the news has portrayed Muslims and Islam in a bad way because of that, how the news is not for Islam. And yeah, and it was very interesting to see after reading like the book about jihad and our book Neighboring Faiths, to see like that interpretation come to life, because I had read like exactly what he was speaking, and so that was really interesting. Oh, and one last thing that I found really interesting, as we were talking about jihad, Tyler mentioned about how even from scripture, about how we are supposed to turn the other cheek, and like when somebody does something wrong against you, as it says in scripture, like we're not supposed to take revenge and take vengeance into our own hands, because vengeance is the Lord's. And he responds by saying like, individually, this is true. Like if one person goes and sins against you or whatever, like individually you can turn the cheek, but collectively we should not turn the cheek. So if like collectively a group is coming against them or whatever, then their duty is to like fight back. And so yeah, that was just another thing that was interesting to learn about. But yeah, overall, just the experience was really great. I honestly would do it again, just to like learn more. I had this like deep feeling in my heart, especially coming back from Africa, where I was like evangelizing with a bunch of Muslims and talking about God and Christianity, and sharing like Jesus and the gospel with them, and wrestling with difficult questions, where I wanted to share the gospel with him, but I felt like it was I don't know, it just kind of felt like strange, or I don't know, I maybe didn't have the boldness and the time. I wasn't like prepared with the mindset of coming in to do that, but I definitely like was thinking when I was sitting there on the couch of like coming back, and we had like a respectful conversation with him. So I believe like if I were ever to come back and just like want to have deeper theological conversation about Christianity and like Islam, I feel like this man or the other leaders would respectfully be kind to want to talk back and forth and have like a respectable conversation about our religions. And I think that is something that would be really awesome. So yeah, it was a great experience. I'm really happy that I went. I wouldn't want to take it back, and I'm glad that I didn't have to do it alone either. Yeah, so this is my video for my Visitation project. Thank you for watching.